Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Build Your Own Bot using UiPath. My name is Ankit. I'm the host of today's webinar. So UiPath is one of the RPA tool that is currently trending in the market right now. Right, so we have a lot more RPA tools, but UiPath is one of the leader in RPA tools. So before even going into the UiPath, so let's learn what RPA is. And this is what you have for today. So this is the agenda. So we'll learn about what is RPA. So what are the different RPA tools we have in the market, and we will have introduction to UiPath Studio, so which is an IDE using which you can build your automation, right? And along with that, before that, I'll walk you through how you can install UiPath in your machine and what are the different projects that are currently going on in UiPath and UiPath different studio components using which you can build your own bot. And then we'll have a small, automation, right? So hands-on experience so that you can see how UiPath helps you to automate your business process. So we'll do a small practicals at the very end. Right, so this is what the agenda that we have for today's webinar. So let's get started with RPA. So what is RPA? So the abbreviation of RPA is robotic process automation. So why do we need an RPA? So what RPA does for us? So what it does, right? So what RPA does for us is the manual task that we are doing, right? So the manual boring task that we are doing on a daily basis in our IT industry, so that can be automated, right? Using the chunk of code or software that we call is a robot, right? So it just mimics the human actions that we do. So why do we need that and all? We'll just look into in few seconds, right? So what is RPA? Like we are IT professionals, right? Who are doing a lot of work in our industry, a lot of manual work, because of which we as an employee will never get a chance to work on some challenging environment. So there are a lot of business processes that happens that has to run in our company, which are boring and repetitive. We cannot avoid them, definitely, because they have to be run. Without that, our business will not run. So there has to be some workforce that are working on those particular processes, those kind of business processes which are completely manual, repetitive, and boring processes. By doing that boring and repetitive processes, employee morale will come down because they are not working on any challenging environment. So they are not feeding their brain with some challenging thoughts. What they are doing is completely boring manual process. And most of the employees that are currently working are not showing much interest to work on those kind of work, because of which big industries are having a lot of issues carrying out those kind of boring process because no one is willing to work on that, right? And the new generations that is coming, that is graduated, right? So they are straightforwardly they are looking out newer generation technologies that we have in the market, including your RPA, right? We have RPA, data science, machine learning. All these are new generation technologies, and new graduates are purely looking out for those kind of technologies. And the employees who are currently working is not willing to work. So then how this boring process, which is definitely a mandatory business process, has to be carried out. So in such type of tough situations, the savior is your RPA, that is robotic process automation. So then what is a robot? So robot is an entity which mimic human actions. Whatever the manual things that you do on your system to carry out a business process, so that will be copied by that robot, and the same thing it does for you. It is a software entity which actually mimics whatever the action that you do in your computer. That is a robot. And I was talking about, from the start I'm talking about business process, right? So what is a business process? A business process is a sequence of steps that you do in your own area which leads to a meaningful activity, right? So a general definition of a process is, right, the sequence of steps that which leads to a meaningful activity is a process. And all the processes that we follow in an IT industry, we call them as business process. Making a tea is one of the process. So what do we do to make a tea? So first we'll take a bowl, right? We'll put that bowl on the stove, lit the stove, put some water or milk as per your requirement. So then add the tea powder, add sugar, boil it for some time, then your tea is ready. So this is the process of making a tea. We are following step-by-step process. So if you follow some other process to make a tea, like the steps you follow for making a chapati, right? So if you follow that for making a tea, the resultant will be something different, right? So this is your step-by-step process that you do in your daily life, right? And whatever the processes that you follow in your IT industry to achieve some work, right? So we all will do some work, and one or the other, we are included in one of the business processes, in one of the processes, which at the end will help our client to achieve something. And those processes in an industry are called as business process, right? So those are your business processes. So then what is an automation? So we have learned who is a robot and what is a process, right? What is the automation? So any process, that is any business process that is done by a robot. So we have looked into what is a robot, right? So robot is a entity which mimics your human action, right? And a process is the step-by-step things which result in a meaningful activity. Then what is an automation? A process which is done by a robot without human intervention is said to be automated, right? So putting all together, mimicking human action to perform a sequence of steps which lead to a human activity without any human intervention is called as robotic process automation, guys. So the manual work that you do in your industry are now being done by your robots. Simply that is called as robotic process automation. So just by listening to this, a lot of people will have a question. The very first question, oh, if robot is doing the work, how about me? Where is my job security? So this is the first question a lot of people get into their mind. And I myself, when I started RPA career 4 years back, I thought the same. And I was, spreading this so-called myth, okay, so-called myth or rumor to my all my colleagues that something called RPA came into the market and it is doing all the work that we do, in our job, and that will be taken care by those kind of robots, and I don't know what our future is. So those kind of words I used to make, but when I get into it and understood what RPA is, so it is something different than what I thought. So it just mimics your rule-based and repetitive tasks. And there are a lot of business processes in our IT industry which requires human intelligence. So just the tasks that doesn't require any human intelligence, so there RPA can be deployed. So this is one of the myth, and if at all you guys have this kind of myth, so you can just take it out from your mind. Okay, so it will not take your jobs, it will assist you in doing your job better, in a better manner, right? So that people who are engaged in these kind of boring jobs can now be used by a company. So we as an employees are the resources of a company, and company is spending a lot of money on us, right? Because we are doing work for them. So they are using us in a repetitive process. So we are humans, so why they can't use us in some of the challenging environment? So if you have RPA, so they can use us, the manual resource, into some innovation tasks, where a human intelligence is required, right? So this is what your RPA is, robotic process automation. So now that we have looked into what RPA is, so RPA is a technology, and we do have a technology enablers. Okay, so then what is the difference between a technology and a tool? A technology is a step-by-step, it is kind of a framework, or it is a theoretical part which tells you if at all you want to be a maker of a particular technology, what you need to follow. So what it should give us, right? So what it should achieve, that particular tool. For an example, you might have heard about ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. So Enterprise Resource Planning is a technology, and the tool that enables this technology are SAP, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, etc. Another example, testing, right? So testing by itself, it's not a tool, it's a procedure. It's a procedure which will tell us how you should perform to achieve testing. So likewise, RPA is also a procedure or a technology, and to enable that technology, we do have different tools in the market. So different tools are these many tools you have. So you have a lot of tools in RPA, like starting from Work Fusion to Pega, including Automation Anywhere or UiPath. So we do have lot many tools, but from these tools, so these three are the leaders in the market: Automation Anywhere, UiPath, and Blue Prism. These three are the market, and among these three, I would say UiPath is currently leading the market. All right. So now we understand that UiPath is a tool for robotic process automation, which builds our automation. So that is your UiPath. UiPath is a tool. It's a kind of a framework which enables us to develop our automation and execute that in our industry, right? So as I said, so UiPath has named a leader in the highest possible score in strategy and market presence. So you can see on the x-axis, you have market presence, and on the y-axis, you have the strategy, right? So in combination of that, you can see the UiPath is currently leading. So this quadrant comes under leaders, and among those, you have UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, Edgeverse, and all among those, so your UiPath is here. So UiPath is somewhere here, which is currently leading, and the toughest competitor for UiPath is Automation Anywhere. All right, so this is your UiPath. And there are a lot of rankings or a lot of recognition that we have received for UiPath. And see, Deloitte, okay, Deloitte 2019's Technology Fastest 500, I would say research said that UiPath ranks number one. UiPath ranks number one in fastest growing company in North America. So this is what the result of the survey done by Deloitte in 2019. And currently UiPath is being used by Airbus, NASA, Autodesk, DHL, HP, and Fujifilm. So these are the top industries or companies that you have in US, and UiPath is currently being used by all these tech giants, I would say, right? So this is your UiPath. So now that we know that UiPath is a tool and who and all are using UiPath, so then how I can use it? Okay, so there are so many tech giants that are using. So these guys are using UiPath, Airbus, NASA, HP, DHL, all are using. So then how I can use it? Yeah? So I'll tell you how to use the UiPath in your own system. That is how to install this UiPath tool. It's very simple, straightforward. So we don't have much complexity that is involved. So you just have to open the browser, type UiPath, and the first link that you get is for www.uipath.com. So this is the official website from UiPath. Just click on that. So when you click on that, you will have a try UiPath for free. So just click on that. So when you click on that, it will take you to the registration page where you can register your details. Okay, so you can give NA. Okay, so you can select your region from where you are currently working, right? Select the agreement license agreements and continue. Right, so after this you will get a form where you have to fill with your details. Okay, all right, so this is already my login. So once you give that details, right, so you will have a submit form where you have to give the details like your email ID, mobile number, so whatever that is required, you have to give that particular details. Once you give that detail, an email will be triggered to your email box, whatever the email ID that you mentioned, right? An email will be triggered just to verify you are a correct user or not. So then after that verification, you will land in this page. So this is the home page of UiPath Cloud, from where you can download something called UiPath Studio. Okay, and the UiPath Studio is the place where we design the automation. Okay, so how to get till here? You have to go to UiPath official website, click on try it for free. So when you click on that, so it will take you to the sign up form. You have to give all your details along with your email ID. An email will be triggered to your email ID where you have to verify the email. So once you do that, you will be landing into this page. So from here, you can just click on this download UiPath Studio. And we do have different versions of UiPath Studio, right? So that is enterprise version and community edition. Community edition is purely for the one who wants to learn UiPath. That is for non-professional or professionals or developers who just want to learn by themselves. So they can download this UiPath Community Edition. So whereas UiPath Enterprise Edition is used by companies who makes a revenue out of this tool. They use Enterprise Edition, and once you download it, a Community Edition will be downloaded into your downloads folder. So when you just go to your downloads folder, you will see a exe file downloaded onto your machine, right? So then you have to just double click on that, follow the steps, that is just next. We don't have anything to do there. We don't have to do anything, just follow the next button. Finally, once you reach the last step, UiPath Studio will get launched. All right, so once you get it, so we'll have this particular user interface. So this is the user interface of UiPath, which we'll call as UiPath Studio. All right, so UiPath Studio, we do have different options, that is open, start. All right, so these kind of options you have in UiPath Studio, and we do have different kind of templates using which you can design your automation. So these kind of templates you have to design your automation, starting with the process. So what is a process? A process is the option which is used to start a blank project. A blank project which is used to automate your things is a process. And what is a library? Library is a reusable component that you want to build, right? So library is a reusable component that you want to build, right? And you can do the automation, that is test automation you can do, and you can create a template. So along with that, if at all you are working on a big projects, a big enterprise project, so one of the handy framework is a robotic enterprise framework. So this is the framework that is mostly used in the market. You can use this framework to design any complex projects. All right, so along with that, you have different types of transactional process, that is workflows. So these workflows are used to have a pictorial representation of your business process, right? So along with that, you have many more options using which you can design your automation. All right, so let's move forward. So as I said, so these are the options that are used to build your automation. So these are the options that we have to build your automation. So how to install? As I said, so if at all you want to have a look at it, so these are the prerequisites that are required to install your RPA tool. So make sure you have 8 GB of RAM, at least 8 GB of RAM. Even though if you have 4 GB of RAM, that would do, but it will be a bit slow. But if you have 8 GB of RAM, so you'll have a faster running processes, right? And you should have a Windows 7 or higher version to run UiPath, right? And so these are the browsers that are supported by UiPath, that is Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Microsoft Edge. Right, so we have looked into how to install UiPath. That is, go to official site, fill your details, open your email, download link. Okay, double click on the download file that we have looked into. Setup will initialize, enter email address. That's it. Okay, so and these are the different project templates that we have just seen into that particular user interface. We have process, library, all those things. So process is used to create a blank project, whereas library is used to create reusable components. So orchestration process, so it is used to implement a process which will run through orchestration service. So what is orchestrator, and also that is a completely a different topic from this webinar. So that is an in-depth topic, right? So then background process, so the process that which doesn't require any human intervention, so that can be called as a background process, and that can also be implemented. And as I said, so I have emphasized on this point because this is very important. So whenever you learn UiPath, right, so this is one of the framework that is every company is looking for from their resources. So one should be expert in doing a project implementation with robotic enterprise framework, right? And this is used for larger deployments, right? And if at all you have some triggers based on which your automation should start, you can use this trigger based automation. And based on the workflow model, if at all you want to have a flow chart model, you can use this transactional process template. So these are all the templates that you have in UiPath. So this was the very first page, right? So now I'll go and click on this new project using the process. So when you click on this process, so it will ask for a process name, the project name. So this is the project that you are creating based on your requirement. So what I'll do here, I'll say webinar Jan 4, just any name. So as per your requirement, you can give your name, and the location. By default, all the projects will be stored under C users document UiPath. You can change that location, and the description as per your requirement you can give, and the language you can select VB or C sharp. So whichever the language you are comfortable with, you can just use VB or C sharp. And remember, you need not to be expert on VB or C sharp to do automation with UiPath. So these are just, you will have just small code snippets which you have to use while building a project. And those are very minimal. I would say just the basics of programming languages that you have learned in your graduation, so that is enough. You need not to be experts in implementing this VB or C sharp. So that is the prerequisite. So just click on create. So when you just click on create, so it will create your project. So the project that you have given the name, right? So using that name, it will create a project, and it will download all the dependencies, and it will create a workspace where you can use the drag and drop functionalities that are available in UiPath to build your project. And this is how your entry page looks like for the project. And let me walk you through the interface, how it looks like. So first of all, starting with the pane. So this is the start options, right? And all together, so this one, so we are calling it as UiPath Studio. So UiPath Studio is used to design your automation. And as I said, it is a community edition. So you can see here, it is a community edition, right? And this is your UiPath Studio, and UiPath Studio is generally divided into the ribbon. So the topmost thing is called as ribbon. Okay, so this is completely your ribbon part, right? And the other thing is project space. So when you click on this project tab, so this is your project space, and just below the project you have activities, right? So this is your activity space. So these activities are used, so we do have so many activities using which you can build your automation. So these activities are just drag and drop activities. You need not to write any code here to build your automation. Okay, so as I said, so few snippets, few coding snippets are required, that to very basic things. Okay, so you need not to learn any programming language. We don't have any prerequisites to start with a UiPath or any robotic process automation tool for that matter, right? So these are your activity page where you can use the drag and drop functionality to design your project. So this is your activity panel, and at the bottom you have the output panel. So this output panel will give you the result of your execution. So whatever you have executed, suppose you have executed a project, and what is the output of that particular process, the output will be here. And we have something called, let me just close this down. We do have a property panel, right? So on the right we have the property panel here, and this property panel is very helpful, very handy while doing the automation. For every activity that you drag and drop from this activity will have few properties that you have to configure, right? So this is how the interface looks like, right? So now let's go and talk about the top three options that you have here. That is home. So when you click on home, it will take you to the previous user interface where you can create a new project or you can open the existing one. So whatever the projects that you have already created, you can just go and open using the open option, the existing projects. That is home. And the design is the tab which has options to design your automation. So you have new, so we have few workflows using which you can design the automation, that is sequence, flowchart, state machine, and global handler. So using this you can design a new automation. You can run your file, whatever you have designed, you can run that particular automation using run file, or you can use the debug option to run in the debug mode, right? So run refers to running the complete project, right? And you can manage the packages. So what do you mean by manage packages? In UiPath you have to download few dependencies if at all you are using the activities, right? So you are using these activities to automate your business process. So few of the dependencies or packages that you have, which you have to download, so that can be downloaded using the manage packages here. And recording, so you generally have these type of recordings using which you can record your step-by-step process. So what is a recorder? So recorder will just ease your work, just start the recording and do whatever you want on the screen. So recorder will capture those steps whatever you are doing on the screen, and you can just run the process. So those are the recordings. And screen scraping, data scraping are used to take out the data from your screen, whatever the UI might be, either it is a desktop application or window based application. If at all you want to scrape the data from that particular screens, you have these two options. And the user events, so whatever the user events that you are doing, like keyboard events or mouse events, right? So to do those kind of activities you have user events. And the UI Explorer, which is one of the very important option that you have in UiPath. So UI Explorer is used to work with your attributes and elements that you have for a particular UI. So that is in-depth process, that is in-depth knowledge in UiPath. But just as an outline, so those are called as selectors. To work with your selectors, you have to use UiPath Explorer. And remove unused variables. So we have to use a lot of variables while designing your project, and if at all you have any unused variables, you can just remove those variables. And at the end you can publish your work to the repository. So we do have a repository which is so repository, we can call it as a component that we have in UiPath, that is orchestrator. And one of the functionality of that orchestrator is a repository. It acts as a repository as well. So once you are done with your project, you can publish your work to the orchestrator. So these are the options that you have in the design panel. And what do we have in debug panel? So debug panel is used to debug your code. You can debug your project. And we do have these options in debug panel. That is debug. As I already said, you can run a single file in debug mode, or you can run your entire project in a debug mode. Stop option is used to stop the particular project. And these are the options that are used to debug your things. That is step into, step over, and step out. Step into will go into the next activity. Step over will go out of the workflow. So these things you have. So breakpoint is used to stop your execution at a particular point in a debug mode, from where you can you can take the control. So if you set a breakpoint at a particular place, from there you can control the execution. Whenever you want, the execution will continue. So those kind of options we have in a debug mode. So slow step, is used to lower your execution speed. If at all you want to slow down your execution speed, you can use this slow step. And the other things like log activities, so all the activities will be logged in a notepad where you can go and check if at all you have received any errors. So those kind of things you can just go and make use to know what the error in case if you have in those logs. So this is the interface, and you see the open main file. So when you go to this project, so this is the project that we have created, webinar Jan 4, and these are the dependencies that it has downloaded. And you, for every project, you have a main file. So main file is the place from where your execution starts, right? And when you double click on that main file, so this is the space where you can use your activities to automate your business process. So this is the outline of complete UiPath Studio. All right, so let's look into what we have next. So using UiPath activity pane component, what are the things we can do? We can integrate an app, that is the third-party app that you have for UiPath. You can integrate that. So then we can work with the orchestrator. Orchestrator is again a component of UiPath, so which is kind of a heart of the UiPath. So we can work with the orchestrator. We can work with the programming languages, right? So if at all you want to invoke some programming, okay, so you have a Java, you have Python. If at all you want to invoke that programming code, you can do that with activities. And you can work with the system activities as well, like whatever the system activities that you do in your system, you can do that, right? So you can open a folder, you can close a folder, okay, you can minimize, maximize, whatever you want in your system, you can do that. Along with, if at all you have some processes that are running or services that are running, you can stop them, and those are stopped, you can start, restart, whatever you do in your system, you can do that. And the UI automation, so UI stands for user interface. Either it might be a desktop application or a window application. So you can automate those UIs using UiPath. This is very important. A lot of automation are dependent on user interfaces, that is desktop or web-based applications. So you can automate those using these activities. And the user events, that whatever you do, like click, double click, entering something through keyboard, all those things also you can do with UiPath. And the workflow, if at all you want to design a graphical workflow or graphical automation, you can use the workflow technology also, right? So these are the things that we have looked into. So now let's do a small hands-on, okay, so which will show you how UiPath works, okay, how it is useful. Okay, so I've told you one of the use case, right? So one of the use case, like the telecommunication industry, so telecom industry, how the automation can help you there. The other example, like if you are working in a HR department, right? If at all you are working in a HR department and you have to onboard a candidate, what you will do? First of all, once the employee is selected, all the interview rounds are completed, you will enter his information in your system, right? In HRMS, in a HRMS portal, you will enter his detail, and till he joins, the onboarding process continues, right? So what you will do, you will first enter his information in the HRM portal. So then you will continuously send emails to the candidate to submit all the necessary documents, right? Until all the documents are sent, you will send him the reminder emails. So once that is completed, once he sent all the required documents, you will send him a welcome email. So this is one of the onboarding process, and this complete onboarding process can also be automated, right? And if at all you want me to go in depth to tell you how what are the use cases that are currently are well, benefited using the RPA, the one in supply chain management. So SCM, supply chain management, is one of the largest area where this automation is giving wonderful results for a company, like in procurement process, in invoicing, okay, in logistics, everywhere you have automation. Whatever the tool might be, if at all you are using PeopleSoft, if at all you are using SAP or any Oracle EBS, your RPA tools are automating all the processes that are involved in those areas, like creation of purchase orders, closing the purchase orders, creation of sales orders, doing the shipment. All these things can be achieved using the RPA tools, right? So now a small hands-on. So what we're gonna achieve here is, suppose I have this portal, right? So I have a job application form which I have to fill, right? So we suppose I'm an employee who is filling these forms based on the input file that I get on daily basis. Assume you have this, so you will receive a CSV file for an example. Fill the forms, okay? So you have this kind of form, okay, this kind of application, that is CSV application, Excel application. And believe me, most of the projects or most of the business processes that you see in the industry, more than 90% you'll have the Excel application, Excel or CSV application, which acts as a data source for your business process, right? And such a data sources can also be automated using RPA tools. Now I have this data source in the CSV format, which is with the name employee data, and I have these employees. So we have 5 employees here with these details: name, email, phone, and the position that they are trying to apply, right? And they are applying through this portal. So this is the forms they have to fill: the name, email, phone number, and the position. So position 1, 2, or 3 position. After that, they have to submit this particular Google form to apply for a position. Okay, so I am the employee actually who gets this data from the different portals, and I have to apply for a particular position based on the given input. Suppose I'm doing it manually like this, right? I'm just giving gmail.com, phone number something, and the position I'm applying to is, suppose, the position 1, and click on submit. Done. So then after, if at all I want to go to the next employee, I have to click on submit another response. So likewise, I have to do it for how many employees I'll get it in this particular form, right? So how I can automate these things using UiPath. So this is the complete manual work and the boring repetitive process. So how I can automate this, right? So first thing, what am I doing? So manually, I'm opening this particular Excel and reading all the data that you have in this Excel sheet. Then after, one by one, I'm taking the details of the employees that are mentioned in this Excel. I'm entering in this Google form, then I'm submitting the responses. So this is what I'm doing manually. So how we can achieve this? So let's go to the UiPath. The first thing you have to do is open the Excel sheet, right? For that, so that is in the CSV format, right? So to read the CSV, under app integration, we have the activities that are used to automate your CSV applications, right? So under app integration, you have CSV, and under CSV, you have these options. That is read CSV, write CSV, append CSV. And I'm reading the CSV, so I'll just drag and drop this read CSV. All right, so this is your read CSV. So which file you would like to read? So that is what the first option is. See how easy it is. It is not so difficult. You need not to write the code, the traditional code, to open any file where even a small dot is missing. You will run up into errors. So you don't have those things. Just complete drag and drop. So this was the activity that I used, right? Read activity, just dragged and placed in this panel, in this white space. So this is what it generated, that is read CSV activity. So the option it is asking is read from file. Which file? From which file you would like to read the data? So this is the option, the browse option. I'll just click on that. Go to the target location where my file resides. So this is the place where I have file, that is employees data. I'll just click on that and automatically the path is generated. And whatever the data that you have, in that particular Excel will be stored as an output into a variable. And we have to create a variable. So I'm creating a variable called employee data. So this is a variable I have just created. All the data that you have in this CSV will be stored in this employee data variable. Okay, and this particular CSV has headers, that is name, email, phone, position. So I've just checked this has headers. So that is done. Okay, I'm done with this. So then what I have to do, once after reading the data, I have to go to this particular portal. I have to open this URL. So this is a web browser and this is the URL that is used to open this particular page. So what am I doing? Simply I'm opening the web page. I'm opening the URL. So what I'll do, I'll go to the activities and search for the open browser activity because I have to open a browser. So in UI, so it is a UI, it is a user interface. I'll just click on that, and under UI, you have a lot many options, and one of the options there is browser. So again, this is the folder, browser folder. I'll just expand that. So from where you can see, you have open browser, attached browser, all these things. Okay, it says open browser, attached browser. So what is the difference between open browser and attached browser? Open browser always opens a new browser. Okay, whereas attached browser will take the existing browser. Simple. Okay, so this is my open browser. I'll just drag and drop this open browser. Okay, so after opening the browser, so this is the open browser activity and I have to enter the URL that has to be opened. Okay, so it is asking insert the URL here. So which URL you would like to open? I'll just go here. This is my URL. I'll copy this and paste it here. So this is my URL. It will open a browser for you. And when you go to the properties, as I said, so properties is also one of the options. So where you can configure the things, right? So and you can see in open browser, it will ask you for which browser type, like that is in which browser you would like to open this particular page. So from the drop down, I'll select the Chrome. See how easy it is. It is not so difficult. So you have a lot of options here. That is, you can open that in IE, you can open that in Firefox, Chrome, Edge, whichever application you want. So I'm selecting Chrome, saving this. So what I've done, I have read this CSV, opened the browser. So then what I have to do? So I have to just give the data in these fields, right? So what I have to do here, I have to write the text. Here also I have to write the text. Here also I have to write the text. What I have to do here, I have to click to select the positions. I have to click, and finally I have to click on the submit button. So these are the things that I have to do. So to write something onto your UI, we use type into, because we are typing it, right? So we are typing something, right? And before to that, so what I have to type? I have to type the data that you have here. The data that you have here, you have to type. So what I'll do here, the data that is stored in this particular variable. So all the data from this CSV is now being stored in this particular variable. So I will extract one by one employee data from this particular variable. From this particular variable, I will extract each and every data. So for that, I'll use the loops. So loops are handy to work with more than one data. So and I have more than one employee here. So what I'll do, you can also search for activities from this particular bar, search activities. So I'll say for each. So for each, row. So I'll just drag for each row. So for each row, from which variable? So that is from employee data variable. So what you have to do in that particular for each, first have to go to that particular browser. So for that, I'll do a attached browser. I'll just do an attached browser. Okay, and in that attached browser, Okay, no need of attaching a browser again. So what I'll do, I will just search for type into, type into. I'll just drag and drop that particular activity, type into, and where you have to type. So where I'm trying to type. So I'm trying to type here in this particular field. So how I will tell the UiPath to type something here. So just click on this indicate on screen. So when you indicate on screen, see here something is happening, right? A rectangular box that has been appeared, and on the right top, in zoom, wherever I hover, so it is displaying there. So this is your computer vision. Okay, someone asked me what is a computer vision, right? So this is your computer vision, so which will extract all the necessary details of the field that you're trying to work with. And this is the field I am trying to work with, that is the name field, where I have to enter the data, right? I'll just click on that, and all the properties related to that will be captured. So in here, what you have to type, you have to type the data that you have here, and where this data is. So this data is in this variable, and from this variable I have to extract the employee name, and that can be achieved from this item, that is row dot, which item you are trying to type, the item which is at 0th position. So at 0th position, what you have, so this is your complete item. From this variable, this is your complete item, and item indexes will start with 0, and this is your 0th index. So this is your 0th item, so I'm extracting that 0th item, and I would like to write that in the string format. Simple. Now it will go and write that particular data. So likewise, how many times I have to do it? 2, 3. So 3 times I have to enter the data, that is type into I have to do. I'll just copy and paste for the 3 times. Okay, so this is your 3 times, but this is the second one is the different field where I have to enter the data, that is email. I'll just click on that, and which item I have to enter? I have to enter the first one. Just I'm changing it to first one. So then again, indicate on the screen once again to capture the phone number, and what data I have to enter? I have to enter the second item. Done. After doing that, based on the position 1, 2, or 3 that is mentioned here, whether he's applying for the position 1, 2, or 3, based on the input, I have to go and select. This is not straightforward because we have 3 options. So what we have to do, we have to do a condition based programming here. Okay, condition based programming. So we can do a condition based programming also using if. So this is if. Yep. So if statement, I'll just drag and drop the if statement. On which item we are doing that if condition? So this is 0th item, first item, second and third item. So what I'll do here, row of item third, is that 3? Yeah. If that third item is equal to, okay, if that is equal to, see all dots only. I'm not doing anything. I'm not writing anything. Just when I click on dot, your intelligence will give you what you can select. Okay, if that is equal to 1. So if that is equal to 1, so the input from this file is equal to 1. What I have to do? I have to click on position 1. I have to click on position 1. So what I'll do here, I'll go and use the click activity. I'll go and use the click activity. You can just search for the activity in the search bar and just indicate on the screen. I have to do click on this one, right? So if it is second one, so if it is he's applying for 2, so again what I can do, I can again insert one more if in the else. I'll just go here, if, drag in the else part. What I have to do again, if this is equal to 2, if that is equal to 2, again do a click. Just drag and drop this click, indicate on the screen. So here I have to click, right? If nothing satisfied in the else part, I have to just click on the third option, that is this. So finally, when you are done with this, okay, so once you are done with all these things, okay, so what you have to do, you have to click on again the submit button. And again, I'll use this submit. So I'll just click on the submit button, right? So once after entering the data, so suppose I'm entering my own data again. Okay, so I'll say here a@gmail.com, and I'm applying for position 1. So return to the main page. Again, I have to click on submit another response. So again, I'll use this click activity, indicate on the screen, do this, done. So this project is ready. So what I'll do now, I'll just close this and close this form as well. So let's run this. I'll go to the design, run file. So I'm running this file. So I started execution. So now the UiPath is taking control of the execution. See, it has opened and it is writing all the details, selected position. See, now the second employee giving the details, second position, done. See how faster it is. It is giving all the details from the CSV file. Going to the next employee, giving the details, submit. The last employee, submit, done. So this is how you can run your automation, right? So did you see how the automation works, right? So these kind of activities, you see in your industry on daily basis. So these kind of data entry work or these kind of things you will have in lot many business process. So these kind of things you can just simply automate. So we have not used huge programming languages to automate those things. Just we have used the drag and drop activities. Thank you very much.